On this episode of Arts Weekly, I'm speaking with Jane Applegate and Greg Jacobs from the Fort Wayne Regional Maker Faire powered by TekVenture.
Every audience member would just take a moment to look around their environment. Everything started with an idea, and it had to be produced. So what is that process?
And Karen Gibbons-Brown from the Fort Wayne Ballet.
You cannot lose your classical roots. However, that is the means to the end, and there are a lot of things that are relevant in today's world that we try and touch on.
This is Arts Weekly.
Arts Weekly is a production of the College of Visual and Performing Arts at IPFW, offering degrees in fine arts, music, theater, and visual communication and design. IPFW, the energy of arts.
Hello, I'm Chuck O'Connor. Welcome back to our third season of Arts Weekly. Joining me is Jane Applegate, Project Manager of Fort Wayne Regional Maker Faire, and Greg Jacobs, President of TekVenture. Well, welcome to you both, and thank you for being our very first guests on our third season.
Thanks for having us, Chuck. We're glad to be here.
The Maker Faire. That sounds like a very interesting title, Jane. What does Maker Faire mean?
Well, the Maker Faire is a concept that was actually produced by Make magazine, which is a quarterly print publication documenting the whole maker movement that's happening on an international basis. And they have a model that while we were looking for an activity or event that would help us create exposure for TekVenture, our ultimate vision, we were trying to figure out, what kind of event would we do that we could celebrate makers and connect or create a forum to connect them and the general public with this creative people. And we learned about Make Magazine's Maker Faire model, and we partnered with them, and now we are producing our own Fort Wayne Regional Maker Faire.
So this all began in a way with this Make magazine, which actually, you might explain a little bit more about that, Greg. Make magazine is kind of like Popular Mechanics, or what we used to know as Popular Mechanics as a kid, but it's really for people who are tinkerers and inventors, and that's part of what Maker Faire is about as well, no?
Right. Well, those who remember Popular Mechanics remember that they had wonderful drawings in it and all kinds of projects that people built. You can still see some of the projects lying around in people's garages, but so we call Make Magazine the 21st Century Popular Mechanics, because it's primarily a bunch of different projects that people have built around the country, and they put all kinds of detailed plans in them so you can build them as well. They also have editorials and stories on interesting technology sorts of things.
And so the people that are coming to the Maker Faire, you have makers from all over the country, and these are people that are going to really show some very interesting things, right, Jane, that they've invented themselves, and will there be opportunity as well for people to learn how to do new things?
Absolutely, Chuck. We're going to have a variety of hands-on learning opportunities, how to solder, some basic welding, some glass blowing techniques, but we're really excited too because we have makers coming from now over 10 states in probably over 25 cities at this point, and we do have a few slots left for makers, so they could go to our website and complete a call for makers if they'd like to participate. And it's just very interesting because we expect that there will be, or we know already that we have woodworkers and machinists and fabricators, technologists, robotic producers. So it's a wide range of types of things that will be shown by the Makers event weekend.
And right, if they want to sign up and demonstrate, if somebody here in town, they can go to tekventure.org. That's TekVenture, I believe.
Yes, sir, it is. Yes.
What is TekVenture? Greg, you're the president of TekVenture. Tell us a little bit about your organization.
Well, TekVenture is a nonprofit corporation we established about 5 years ago for the purpose of creating a public access workshop, so to speak, a place where people can use all kinds of tools and materials, maybe tools that they can't afford for their own shops and so forth, to make things. And we did this because we know that there's a very large technical population in Fort Wayne and Northeast Indiana because of all the manufacturing industries and the inventors and fabricators and so forth in this area, but they didn't really have a place to kind of get together and talk shop and maybe in the process inspire some young people to pursue technical careers. So we thought, well, we're going to try to establish such a place. At the time we started, there were only really 2 models, maybe 3 in the country that we studied to see how this is done. And now there are a fair number of maker spaces or hacker spaces starting around the country. Most of them on a little bit smaller scale than we imagined for TekVenture. but the idea is that it will be a central facility where people can come and make things.
Yeah, and you know, Fort Wayne has actually a reputation for being a place where inventors come from. You know, we all know that Farnsworth and television was invented here, and many other things. Did that inspire you to?
Oh, very much so. One of my relatives some time ago worked on magnet wire here in Fort Wayne and was involved and started that industry.
Yes.
And of course, we were interested in Farnsworth and many, many other people who, and that tradition very much continues in Fort Wayne. There's still many innovators and
lots of entrepreneurs and lots of inventors.
Right, and this is something that a lot of people don't know about. I mean, they don't know what many of the industries of the region make. They don't know who's out there developing new devices and new inventions. And TekVenture is a way that that can kind of become public.
I see. Who are some of the interesting makers that are coming to the first ever Maker Faire here in Fort Wayne?
Well, for example, we have Jim Mers, who's a kinetic sculptor, and people often don't know what kinetic sculpture is, and that is where it moves, whether it's digitally controlled on its own or whether someone actually can operate the artwork. And he's a local maker. We also have, again, we have Glass Blower coming, who's new to the area into Fort Wayne. He's going to be doing live glass blowing on site, demonstrating both for the public, and again, that will be the opportunity for the public to learn a little bit about how they can glass blow as well. We have an iron pour team coming from Chicago.
To pour a sculpture?
Yes, and our guests will be able to actually purchase a mold and do something to it to customize it a little bit. And then the iron will be poured through probably Saturday night or Sunday. The molds will be broken open and guests will be able to pick up their artwork that they've actually had some hand in producing if they choose. We also have attractions, things that will interest the general public aside from the makers, because it really is about, the whole event is really about a forum for the makers.
You know, actually, Jane, before we go too much farther, I want to remind our audience that Maker Faire is this weekend, October 1st and 2nd.
Yes, sir.
All day, on Saturday and Sunday, correct?
Yes, yes.
Well, tell me a little bit about the sashimi. I don't want to get this wrong.
You're not alone.
The Sashimi Tabernacle Choir Car.
Very well done.
That's
yes.
why I'm there.
Some people just call it the fish car, which we laugh at because it has 250 billy bass, some Larry lobsters, and a bunch of rainbow trout. And they're all digitally controlled so that when certain cuts of music come on, they sing and dance in unison. And I have had the opportunity to actually be in the driver's seat, so to speak, in the vehicle, such that they have a lobster that has a baton that telescopes out from the roof of the car, and it leads the choir. And so it's, you know, a lot of people will look at this thing and go, that's crazy, or that's whimsical, or why would anyone waste their time? But the gentleman who designed it is a neuroscientist. He's a very, very smart, I mean, I would consider him a brilliant man. And it's very technologically challenging, the problem solving that they put into this unit, because I mean, to get 250 fish to sing and dance, I mean, that's a pretty large task, wouldn't you think?
I don't know if it's talented or what, but it sure sounds fun.
Oh, it's going to be so fun.
I would like to add, too, that something Jane just touched on. That is that even though a lot of this stuff is crazy, and you kind of think, well, what's the point of this? They all involve solving technical problems. And when you come and see some of these things, you see several things. One, a number of tricky engineering problems that have to be solved. Number two, a pretty high level of craftsmanship where you have to get this stuff to work together. A lot of it's pretty complicated. So those are the things that people will be able to detect once they get into the Maker Faire.
Seems like a wonderful event for kids.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at TekVenture, we really believe that, you know, as we all know, our future is in kids. And so with the demise of art that you might be aware of and technology programs in the school systems today, where are kids going to go to understand that concept of, if they have an idea in their head, how do you turn that into a 3D object? And Greg, you know, talks about the design to fabrication cycle. Again, whether it's a script or a video show or, a singing fish car, all of those things started in someone's head, and they had to take some steps to produce them. Now, some are more complicated and diverse than others. But, you know, every audience member would just take a moment to look around their environment. Everything started with an idea, and it had to be produced. So what is that process? Now, the Maker Faire is maybe typically a little bit more eccentric, but ultimately it's fun. It's fun, and it's hands-on learning, and that's taking it back to the kids' idea. So we actually are going to have a place called Tinkertown on site, and that'll be a place for young makers 4 to 14 who can come in, and they'll be able to learn how to do paper mache, basic electricity, basic motor making, play with some cogs that one of our vendors is bringing in. I believe that one of our sponsors is making edible spines. We have
edible spine.
Yes, sir. I just kind of threw that one in, but so and then there will be other activities. The Boy Scouts are coming, and they're going to be having what are called trebuchet or catapults that are going to be launching marshmallows and things like that. So we have a wide variety of things, and
soldering workshop too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a great place to come and learn new techniques.
Yes.
It can really build an interest in a child,
Absolutely.
or a big kid as well, about some things you might not have known of. And IPFW is going to be there, I must say. We're
Absolutely.
Going to be, I forgot what we're doing. What are we doing?
A couple of your instructors are going to be showing a piece of an installation that they have produced. That's both it's an audio-visual interactive experience, and
it's
so
an interactive technological installation.
Yes, so we encourage the public to stop in and talk with the folks who are going to be there, because again, this is a forum for the makers to connect with one another and to create energy between these common or folks who have disparate backgrounds and maybe uncommon interest and things like that, as well as the general public to connect with these people.
Right.
Because there are so many cool things happening in garages and basements and attics around the area, and this is a way for those folks to come out and show off what they're doing, again, connect with one another and the community with them, to because some of these things might eventually go to market, because there's green technologies. Again, there's robotics designs. I don't know if you've heard the news recently, but supposedly some gamers have just unlocked the code for the AIDS virus.
Oh my
and
gosh.
that's you would not typically think of gamers getting involved in the medical research field.
Well, so much of scientific thinking is it involves creativity as well. And Greg and I were talking before the show. Somehow or another, we sort of, in our modern day, divorce those two different enterprises, science and art. But really, when it comes to invention and things like maker fairs, they're both put back together. Quite a good skill to teach people. And before we go, we only have a few more seconds, Greg. Most of our public is familiar with STEM, the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. But what is STEAM?
Well, STEAM is a term that we've been kind of throwing around. Of course, that includes the letter A in the word STEAM, and the A stands for art. And art is about designing things and having visions. And most of the other letters, science, technology, engineering, and math, require a vision of some kind in order for them to go into effect. Right. So we think that STEM should be reissued as the word STEAM.
I agree. Well, it's been fascinating talking to you both. I'm looking forward myself to going and seeing all the fabulous makers at Maker Faire and enjoying it. That's going to be on October 1st and 2nd. I'll see you there.
We look forward to it, Chuck.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
For more information about the Fort Wayne Regional Maker Faire or how you can get tickets, visit tekventure.org. That's TekVenture.org. Arts Weekly will return in a moment.